It has been a hot minute since my last rosacea video. If you deal with rosacea, you are going to want to watch this one. What exactly is the root cause of rosacea? Well, if you are looking for one single root cause, I hate to break it to you, rosacea is multifactorial, meaning there are multiple things that come together to lead to one's risk and symptoms of rosacea. We always can point a finger at that double helix, our genetics. It seems as though hormones also may be playing a role. For whatever reason, rosacea is significantly more common in women than men, although men deal with it as well. Rosacea is characterized by sensitive skin, as well as episodes of flushing and blushing. These episodes can also lead to the formation of little bumps that look like pimples, red spots filled with pus. And over time, the flushing, the blushing can become fixed facial redness along with prominent dilated blood vessels. When it comes to how we treat rosacea, there is no cure. We do things to control the symptoms, prevent it from getting worse. You have to be cognizant of how all of the different moving parts work together to contribute to your disease, and you have to be proactive to manage these triggers. A big part of what underscores the sensitivity is actually a problem with the skin barrier. The underlying barrier defect allows for irritating, noxious substances to penetrate and cause symptoms of burning and stinging, along with flushing and blushing. Then you have to be cognizant of environmental triggers. A big one is ultraviolet radiation from the sun, but also you have the contributing factor of heat. Whenever we get warm, when we get hot, blood vessels dilate. For rosacea, this can bring about the flushing and the blushing. Then there is the contribution of microbes, things that naturally live on our skin, but also our gut microbiome. Our gut microbiome is an intimate player in skin health. There is a unique communication between the gut and the skin. This axis can be skewed in such a way in individuals with rosacea, making things like your diet super important to helping manage symptoms. One microbe in particular is Demodex, those little mites that live in everyone's skin, okay? They're part of our normal skin microbiome, but for patients who have rosacea, they have a greater density of Demodex mites, and of course, the immune system. The immune system, as it circulates through the skin, is overreactive. It's a bit melodramatic, if you will, and therefore it leads to the release of more inflammatory mediators that trigger symptoms of sensitivity, flushing, blushing, and overall flares. And last but not least, you also have the contribution of blood flow. Anything that increases blood flow can aggravate rosacea. Let's talk about the sensitivity. Remember, I said there is a problem with barrier function. So if you have rosacea, a big part of managing your symptoms and staying on top of it is doing things that help to address the needs of your skin's moisture barrier. And it doesn't necessarily involve a complicated skincare routine and multiple skincare products, although I do recommend a lightweight facial moisturizer applied at nighttime to help reduce transepidermal water loss, which tends to be greater at night and helps soothe the skin. However, there are other things in your overall life that can significantly impact barrier function. Poor sleep is a big driver of impaired barrier function. Stress, likewise, compromises the integrity of your barrier. So making sure that you prioritize sleep and that you manage your stress, it directly impacts the symptoms of sensitivity by addressing the needs of the moisture barrier. If you are sleep deprived, your skin is going to be losing more water. You are going to be more vulnerable to the symptoms of sensitivity. You have to be picky and choosy when it comes to your skincare products. Certain products may aggravate your symptoms, and it is not a one and done, avoid these products, avoid these ingredients type list, and everyone's rosacea is aggravated by different things. Diet makes a difference. Like I said, there is an intimate connection between our gut and our skin, and diets deficient in fiber that are fibrogenic do not bode well for the health of your gut microbiome and potentially can skew things in a negative direction for your rosacea. So make sure you are incorporating whole foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, to ensure that you are getting at least the recommended daily fiber intake. Omega-3 fatty acids also are really helpful because they can help cut down on the symptoms of dry eyes that a lot of patients deal with. Now, should you take a supplement? Always discuss supplements with your healthcare provider, but there are a variety of whole foods that are excellent sources of omega-3 fatty acids. Some research suggests that consuming green tea may help alleviate the triggers around sun exposure. Also, chamomile tea has been shown to be anti-inflammatory and may bode well for those with rosacea to incorporate. Caffeine from coffee actually has been associated with an improvement in symptoms. A word of warning, hot liquids, whether it be beverages, soups, can bring about flushing. So maybe stick to iced tea. Is there anything you should avoid in your diet if you have rosacea that might help you out? Well, research suggests that diets rich in processed, refined, sugary carbohydrates honestly are not good for anyone's skin, but specifically with rosacea may contribute to overall more severe disease. These types of diets tend to, again, be low in fiber, low in anti-inflammatory rich foods, and high in refined sugars that can lead to more inflammation, which directly impacts the skin. Cinnamon, peppers, chili, cayenne, chocolate, tomatoes, and citrus. Check out my video all about foods that cause facial redness. I go into detail about how these different foods contain compounds that can lead to either vasodilation or trigger something called TRPV1 channels that lead to either flushing and or the symptoms of sensitivity. Now, again, not everyone's rosacea is the same. So these food groups may not be a problem for you, but commonly they are for many people with rosacea. So it's something for you to proactively look into. Alcoholic beverages are not your friend if you have rosacea. Directly trigger vasodilation. Try and eliminate alcoholic beverages. It can really make a difference. Unfortunately, fermented foods, which are rich in histamine, can be a trigger for a lot of people. So like sauerkraut, kimchi. I already talked about the importance of sleep and stress management for helping to mitigate flares. The other thing is exercise. Exercise can be your friend, but it also may trigger a flare. So again, anything that gets your heart rate up and brings blood flow to the face can precipitate a flush. So how do you manage that? I suggest when you are participating in cardiovascular activities to do your best to do so in a cool environment with good air circulation. Get a ice cold beverage to sip on that really can help. Ice chips can help slow down that rise in body temperature to the face. You might want to avoid things like hot yoga or going into a hot sauna. Don't avoid exercise though, because we know, of course, the cardiovascular benefits of exercise, but it also has an anti-inflammatory effect. I also encourage people to incorporate resistance training, work out with weights, because actually there is a small study that suggests that muscle mass is inversely correlated with rosacea severity. So it potentially might be protective, and of course we know it is good for your health to maintain muscle. Let's talk about microbes, specifically Demodex mites. Like I said, Demodex mites are naturally present in everyone's skin, but for people with rosacea, they are more abundant and they contribute to the inflammatory milieu in the skin and flares. So there are medications, specifically one called Cilantro, that directly target this mite. Also, other medications that are prescribed for rosacea target the inflammation that surrounds the mite. The mite itself has a little bacteria that cohabitates with it. So the antibiotics that we often prescribe for rosacea, not only are they anti-inflammatory, but they may be working for rosacea by helping with that little pesky bacteria that is even more maybe driving the inflammatory responses in the skin. Regular cleansing and moisturizing the skin actually can be beneficial for cutting down on the burden of Demodex mites because they help exfoliate the skin, improve moisture content so the skin exfoliates on its own more efficiently. You see, if you have a buildup of dry, dull, flaky skin, Demodex really thrives in that. So just consistent cleansing 1 to 2 times daily as your rosacea tolerates. A lot of people with rosacea only tolerate cleansing with a very mild creamy cleanser once a day, ideally in the evening. Okay, that's the best time to incorporate your cleanse. Helicobacter pylori. This is a bacteria that you can become infected with in your digestive tract. It can contribute to ulcers. There is an association with this and rosacea, and for some people, treating it helps the rosacea. It's not clear though if that is really that strongly associated, but I thought I would address it here because I have seen some questions. All right, let's talk about skincare. What kind of skincare products should you incorporate if you have rosacea? At the very least, a mild creamy cleanser, a moisturizer, and the most important thing is sunscreen. UV is a big trigger for rosacea, but there are a variety of ingredients that might be in your moisturizer that also could be helpful for your rosacea. For example, licorice root, niacinamide. These are compounds that are anti-inflammatory and help soothe the skin as well as mitigate redness. Something that is not off the table is a topical retinoid. Adapalene, FDA approved for acne, may also help rosacea by helping to clear up the little pimple-like bumps. Now, not everyone tolerates adapalene, especially people who have rosacea, but of the retinoids, it is one of the easiest to tolerate. And if you tolerate it, it definitely may help to improve your rosacea. Remember, adapalene also has some anti-inflammatory properties to it, so there's that. And it may also help your skin in handling the damaging effects of UV when paired with sunscreen. So it really has a potential to work in your favor if you're able to tolerate it. Check out my video on using a retinoid for sensitive skin because I give a lot of practical tips for slowly introducing a retinoid to mitigate flares of sensitivity. What about an exfoliant? You've probably heard that if you have rosacea, you should avoid things like glycolic acid, lactic acid, salicylic acid. These things are too harsh. They can worsen the burning, the stinging, and a lot of the times that is absolutely true. But also remember that for some people, if they have that buildup of dry, rough skin, it could be directly compromising barrier integrity as well as feeding into the Demodex proliferation. So a group of exfoliants that oftentimes are very well tolerated for people who have sensitive skin are polyhydroxy acids. Lactobionic acid, for example. Not only do these gently exfoliate the skin, removing that buildup of dry, rough skin texture, but they also help to improve moisture retention in the skin, helping with barrier function. So that's an ingredient family that you might not only tolerate, but it might potentially benefit you. Then over the counter, you have sulfur. Sulfur is underrated. It's anti-inflammatory and soothing. You've probably seen in the drugstore here in the US at least, Rosacea. It is a topical sulfur gel marketed for people with rosacea. That is great. And then if you guys have been watching my channel for any number of years, I'm a big fan of the De La Cruz sulfur treatment. It's really inexpensive and effective. Then recently I did a video all about the efficacy of tranexamic acid. Topical tranexamic acid, it actually can help with facial redness. Oftentimes it is something that we might try for people who have what's called post-inflammatory erythema, like from acne that healed with a persistent red mark. But it has been shown to be helpful for certain types of rosacea when applied topically. And yes, I know the structure of tranexamic acid is kind of large and very polar, and it's very questionable if it even gets into the skin without some sort of assistance from like microneedling. But we do have evidence clinically that just applying it to the skin can help with redness quite a bit. For example, the Paula's Choice Discoloration Repair Serum or the Minimalist Tranexamic Acid Serum, these are options as well. Last but not least, you have azelaic acid. Okay, so azelaic acid is at prescription strengths a good treatment for rosacea. But you can also buy cosmetic products that have azelaic acid. Mind you, the azelaic acid concentration is lower than what is in the prescription strength stuff, but it certainly can be helpful. Azelaic acid does a lot of beneficial things for rosacea specifically, in that A, it's anti-inflammatory, B, it's antimicrobial, and C, it very mildly exfoliates the skin, so it can help again with that Demodex issue. All right, y'all, so that is a wrap up of the skincare that you might pursue on your own, but remember, you need to also be keeping watch on all of these other sort of outside influences that directly can aggravate your rosacea, such as your sleep, your diet, your environment, your workout routine. Taking steps proactively to kind of manage all of these potential triggers and just being aware of what your triggers are makes a huge difference. You don't need a complicated skincare routine, less, maybe more, just a mild cleanser, a moisturizer, and a sunscreen at the very least. But yes, you may find benefit from some of these other ingredients in cosmetic products. Let me know in the comments if you deal with rosacea. I really hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.